Welcome to the Nipple Chronicles, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the raw and real experiences of women today. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm here to challenge the norms, stir the pot, and celebrate the individuality of women, while confronting unhealthy societal norms and, most importantly, honoring our authentic selves. So buckle up and get ready to laugh, learn, and maybe even unlearn some of the things you thought you knew about being a woman today. Welcome to episode 10 of the Nipple Chronicles. I am here today with the lovely and talented Dainia. She is an avid explorer of life, student of life, human explorer. She loves all of the things about people, super fascinated people watcher, if you will.
I'm an expert people watcher.
Welcome, Dainia. Thank you for being
I'm an expert people watcher.
Welcome, Dainia. Thank you for being the example of people watcher.
Yes.
No creeps or anything like that. She's definitely not living in the bushes and checking out people against their
No, we're elevated.
knowledge.
We're upgraded.
We do it at the mall.
To the Gen Z generation.
On the internet.
Yeah, on the internet. This is how we do it.
Amazing. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm 27. What you called a transplant. I forgot that's what we're called.
Yeah, you were a transplant. During our pre-interview, we talked about that.
It's been a year. Almost a whole year. In like 2 weeks I've been here.
So transplant from the East Coast.
East Coast. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
I love the way you say that.
There's a certain way. There's a certain slang. It's home, so you just
Baltimore.
say it like the homies.
You lose some letters. We were talking about this the other day about swallowing the T's.
Mm-hmm. It rolls off the tongue.
Baltimore.
It rolls off the tongue.
I feel like it's an L that you lost.
I mean, there's no anyway.
B-A-L-T. Baltimore.
Yeah. Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Now you say it.
Baltimore.
That's not how you said it.
I know, but that's because you're looking for the T. That's how you say it.
Oh,
Baltimore. Or the L, I mean.
The L and the T. So we are here today to talk about interracial dating and just that experience that you've had. Well, I've had. So tell me, I mean, obviously you've had multiple interracial relationships. You said you also have dated mixed men that were black and white or anything else? Like,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I remember one of my earliest crushes. He was black and Korean mom, black dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he would now be 45. So that would mean that mom and dad were like, really broaching a different type of relationship that you weren't really seeing circa like the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
To have produced a man that's now 45. It's so crazy to say stuff like that out loud.
They lived a lot of life.
I remember him being 19 and like I had a massive crush on him.
My first crush was a dark-skinned black man. His name was Montrez Scott. If you're out there.
Scott.
Kindergarten, that was me.
Oh, man. Well, and so obviously your dating preferences have fluctuated. I think we talked about this a little during the pre-interview that you have dated all the shades and all the ethnicities. But tell us a little bit about your current partner.
Current partner is Will. He's Colombian and another Latin American country. I don't know off the top of my head. It's crazy.
We'll just call him Colombian plus.
Maybe Spanish.
Was it Colombian and Spanish? I feel like we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's of the more Spaniard persuasion. He looks like a white man sometimes. And
he's super pale.
He shapeshifts.
He's super pale. And then living in the East Coast, right? Like not getting a whole lot of sun during certain seasons. It's just like, you look like a ghost, right? And then we talked about his facial hair and everything is so much darker in contrast. Like you can see the ethnicity, I guess, in his features.
He gets a little seasoning when he grows out.
But he looks like a New Yorker. He looks like an American.
Like an American.
Yeah.
So how long have you been dating Will?
Dating since March.
Okay. And I know you had mentioned like you guys met a little over a year ago when you were both entering into the certification that you did for for professional people watching.
That's what makes me a professional people watcher through biotypes.
She's certified.
Yes. I am, though. I'm certified.
She really is. She really is. So what has it been like? I mean, obviously, I know on top of navigating the fact that, like, well, no, before we jump into Will, let's talk more specifically about some of your earlier experiences in interracial dating.
So I think my earliest crushes were, like I said, dark-skinned men. Watching TV, they fluctuated because I saw a lot more different types of men. And yeah, because I always went to a certain type of school that was just diverse, essentially. So whoever I saw on TV, I would also like see like in my school and stuff. So just the persuasion of imagery was really...
no, I get that. Like,
yeah, I'm seeing more of them. Like, oh, what are you like?
Let me see some Idris Elba. Like
Idris Elba
in real life, and yes, yummy. Like anyone really that tall, looks in that. Oh, well, really you met the human that I'm talking to, and he is in fact quite
also very tall
and sturdy.
He don't look as sturdy though.
Oh,
not like Idris.
He actually has lost a lot of weight because he's bulking up for like a fitness competition. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they have to like lean out for those competitions.
It depends on like what he's doing. If it's like weightlifting, then you do want to be like in a lower class, like lifting heavier.
Yeah.
But if it's like weight or like wrestling, you do like they drink water at the absolute last minute. Because one of the people that I've dated who wasn't black, he was a Jewish, so that origin. But he had he was a redhead and he fought MMA.
Okay.
So before a competition, like he would cut out all water. They would turn up the heat in the training studios, and like they would just sweat and expel all this water. And then like right before weigh-in, they would drink water and it would swell up.
Well, he's training and I love that, like, I just have completely given myself away. This is the first episode that I'm talking about this man. And I actually say a part of it was inspired by, you know, the openness and these conversations that I'm having with lovely women like yourself that are creating, you know, energetic shifts within myself to attract beautiful men. Beautiful man. I mean, people really in general, actually, like the amount of people that have told me I love you in the last couple of days, because we just finished that great relationships workshop this last weekend. And just people who were just immensely grateful. So, and we went off topic a little, but that's okay. That's the fun of podcast and the human experience. So, okay.
I was on topic. I tied it into a man that I dated.
You did. Okay.
Of a different race.
Of a different race.
I'm
exactly. Exactly. So what was it like? I mean, obviously now you've had a handful of experiences and I know you're young and you've kind of grown up in a different era of like, I don't want to say acceptance, but really I think it is acceptance that, you know, things have kind of shifted. So,
I do believe so, yeah.
What would you say was like your earlier experiences in that, you know, in interracial dating then, even a decade ago, compared to what you experience now with your current partner?
Well, a decade ago, I was like 17. So this would be like my high school boyfriend. Why it was really rough at that time wasn't necessarily because of his race still, but just because of like the type of person that he was, like how he showed up, how he carried himself. That's always been important in my family. So looking at just people in general, that's what they're looking at too when it comes to like acceptance of a partner, a significant other, even a friend. Like with friends, they were very particular about their character than their color. Because one of my white friends, they read her as trouble because like she was a little trouble.
Yeah, but sometimes those are the most fun people.
Yeah, they're fun, right? Like I want to fuck around and find out type shit, but like
not when it gets down to the core of character.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, well, so again, then, I mean, you're experiencing something different in yourself now. Exactly, like of what you're saying is like, you know, what your parents saw back then. And I feel like even when we're younger, a lot of our influence obviously is directly coming from our parents. So if your parents were open, is what I'm hearing you say, like they weren't judging based off of like someone's race, someone's skin color, or anything like that.
Not in my experience with my parents. No, like it's really just who are you? How are you treating me?
Yeah. And so how do you think that then opened you up to dating, you know, pretty much whoever you want?
The way that I began look at dating versus just like friendships was involving like a physical attraction, like intriguing,
but less anything to do with like their race or their culture or anything like that.
So then when it came to like being in a relationship with one of them, it's kind of just like, are you a decent enough person to me? Because they haven't all been perfect, right? But also like, am I attracted to you? Like, not just are you pretty, like you're handsome, oh my God, like you're a decent looking human person, but also do I want that? Do I want you?
I love it. I love it. It's really like, it sounds like it's boiling down to like chemistry and attraction for you beyond anything, having to do with culture and race.
Yeah, no, because the thing is because we grew up so differently, like the way that they perceive certain things and ends up what they do in a relationship is also very different.
Yeah. And do you think that there's been any particular challenges that you faced because you have dated men that were not the same race, ethnicity, identity as you?
The challenges boil right back down to chemistry. It's kind of like, do our rhythms match up? So like if I were to stay the night with you, do your armpits stink? Like, do you smell funky because of what you ate? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you shower at this time? When you take off your suit, your shoes or your socks, where do they go? Do you clean up behind yourself? Like, just take care of yourself in a way, right? Culturally, it looks different. So then it's like the chemistry of what am I willing to put up with? Like, are you really like my vibe? Can we be in relationship like this? Can we coexist? Really, that's the question.
No, that's a great question because, in my experience, like I have definitely, I guess, interracially dated. I have such qualms with that in general because I'm more like human race, but also I'm not like, I definitely know that it is a privilege being more passable, I guess, would be. Is that what we were talking about this yesterday? Okay, so I have like my beigeness allows me to pass and I kind of blend in one direction or the other, but based off of I would say like maybe how I communicate and how I carry myself, people tend to think that I am of the Caucasian persuasion. And
that was feedback for me a lot when I was in middle school and things like that. Girls would point out the way that I spoke. They're like, oh, you don't sound like you're from here. And I'm like, yeah, I am. But again, different influences, different things that I paid attention to.
Exactly. So when you, no, and it's really like not anything to like glaze over because I feel like, yeah, there's certain aspects of our upbringing. Like I grew up on a university campus. So I saw everybody. Like, and then around third grade, I moved to a different neighborhood and I had gone from a predominantly, what were the letters you said? Was it you that we were talking? Yeah.
Predominantly white institution.
Predominantly white institution. So actually, I went to a predominantly Hispanic/Mexican elementary school up until third grade and then moved to like further west and it was predominantly white, but there were definitely new others that I hadn't experienced before. Like I remember this was my first, I was 9 years old and I met a girl who was from Thailand and her name was Bo. She was very crazy. And, I just think about it throughout like all the different times, like all the different people I was exposed to, like Thai and Persian and Chinese and Indian and, I'm like, I'm trying to think, like, obviously, like, this was the first time in fourth grade that I was really encountering, like, a ton of Jewish people. And being on the university campus, I feel like I always saw these people. I remember my stepmom having, before she married my dad, she had a roommate who I think was Thai also, or she might have been Vietnamese, but some Eastern Asian culture, country, ethnicity. And I think that it definitely influenced me early on to see that amount of diversity because I never really did look at like, oh, I can only date these people. Like I was very open. And then I know I definitely veer more towards the tall, dark, and handsome now in my adulthood. But I think a lot of that was influenced by like growing up around athletes. Like my dad worked in athletics at Cal State Northridge and I saw these tall, beautiful men all the time of all ethnicities. But I mean, let's be real. Like, you get a lot more men of color and particularly Black men in these programs, and then there they were. And that was my earliest influences of like masculinity and like, oh, he's so strong and big and powerful. And yes, please, thank you.
And I think looking at like the different cultures and stuff and like how they're all different, because the tall, dark, and handsome, like that's like a culture within itself, you know what I mean? Like they really do come from a certain lineage to look that way, more biotype stuff. But like truly when it comes to like when they show up and who they are, it's also like perfect, because along with you being like this culture, this race, this ethnicity, you also get like so much power from that in an ancestral way. So like what type of struggle the Black people have been through, what type of struggles even Jewish people have been through, what type of struggles Hispanic, Latinos, I'm not sure what's politically correct anymore, but again, who I know to be Spanish speakers, like native Spanish speakers and things like that, those countries that they're from, their history.
Yeah.
And, you know, it does expand to like different types of white, like Europeans, French, they could be, I don't know.
French, Dutch, Spanish. Those were the main,
more of those. Exactly.
Those were the main explorers that were colonizing different regions of the world.
And it always boils down like to a certain how they showed up, like what they did in times of harm, whatever. So when it comes to partnership, relationship, and shit like that, when I want to build something with someone, how are you showing up in times of distress, in times of success even? Yeah. How are you going to handle it? What's your, I guess, downfall, whatever. Yeah. Maybe it's stereotyping. But also, I don't see it that way because it's an aspect that's
and now you have that experience with your certification and like getting to like really have that year's worth of experience, really learning how to read people and like, you know, understand who they are and like what they're up to.
It's so dope.
No, I love that. I really do think it's amazing what you've created, obviously being here in LA and like the different programs that you've gone through, and that's actually where you met your current partner, Will, right?
Doing the biotype certificate. It was totally online. I was living in North Carolina actually at the time. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, but my mom's from North Carolina. So my mom was back in North Carolina with my youngest brother, and I was with them when I enrolled into MITT and came out for that training. And that was October of last year. But the certification program started June of that same year. Yeah. So I met him in June, actually a little bit prior to, because of like the interest call, but I didn't start talking to him until after the program started.
Yeah. So
and yeah.
What do you think with him? I mean, obviously there's different conversations because now he still lives on the East Coast and you live here. When you do find yourself together, do you feel like you're like maybe getting any prejudice or any kind of response from the world at large when you are together with him?
It's LA. Like, no. It's way crazier shit to look at out here than this dark-skinned woman with this pale-looking guy. Like, because you see the exact opposite in another part of town. You see something unexpected. I don't know, unexpected for me, right? In another part of town, like you'll see two women holding hands and kissing. You'll see two. It really doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, no, and I would like to think that that's like just how like progressive we've shifted even just in my 20 years of dating experience, because I remember I dated a man named Mike in God, I'm so old. In 2003.
What did Mary just say? Right in the sweet spot between the beginning and the end.
I'm not so old. I'm right in the sweet spot between the beginning and the end. And that wasn't to me, by the way. She was talking about someone who was a little more seasoned.
Yeah. Someone was asked their age, and that was her response. The sweet spot between the beginning and the end.
The sweet spot. Well, anyway, like I remember, okay, so this is like 20 plus years ago now. I remember walking down Sunset Boulevard, like hand in hand with him, and it like garnered attention. And I mean, a big part of that could have been like the story I was making up about it, and like, you know, my own, like even my own prejudice. Like I would even say that of like in my attempts to like shield myself from like discrimination, I myself had become discriminating against myself in my relationship.
Yeah.
Like I was waiting for somebody to judge me.
To say something about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, to defend yourself. And I'm thinking about when I first met him, and I went to New York to meet him before I actually got to North Carolina, because I was leaving from Texas. Quite a journey I've been on. But anyways, when we went outside, we would go outside like holding hands and like hugging, PDA essentially.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice any attention, I don't think, either.
Interesting.
But,
and I mean, but you're talking about like two major cities that you've both
they're both
existed
major
in.
cities. We were in Queens.
Yeah.
In New York. So
and I'd imagine that there's like, with obviously all the different Latin groups and black and white and everything in between, like New York is like Ellis Island, and, you know, bring them all. Like,
bring them all. Come one, come all.
Come one, come
bring
all.
Bring your huddled masses and the rest of what history says.
So, but again, at this point, then we're like going like 100 years back or more. And I would imagine there's a lot of like products of interracial dating throughout the last 100 years. So at this point, everyone's really just kind of muddled together. Like
it's like a actual melting pot.
An actual melting pot.
And that's the thing about me, why I mentioned I'm Generation Z, and why growing up, at least again, like my experience with my parents, that was never their concern was race. And so I didn't look at that out in the world around me. Like, did I notice things about my particular race? Yes. But like us two together in a relationship, no.
Well, and how old are your parents?
I'm 27. They're 47.
Okay, so not that. Again, they're closer to my sweet spot than your sweet spot. Actually, funny
Are we still
enough,
talking about nipples?
Oh my God, yes, my sweet spots. So funny enough, actually, Dainia and I went to lunch last week, and
can I tell the story?
Oh my God, yes,
okay.
please.
We went to the mall for lunch, and I noticed there's a place called Sumptuous. It's a Nigerian and Jamaican food spot, and I was feeling kind of sick, so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get some pepper soup, right?" Because I've discovered that I'm a certain percent Nigerian, and I had a lot of Nigerian friends back in Baltimore. So like they would show me the food that they ate. I knew that I wanted that because I was sick. I was like, nice. And Jessica was kind enough to buy me lunch. So I told her what I wanted after going over to get the menu, and then I went to the car to go grab my laptop. So she ordered for me. Apparently, while I was gone to the car, let me remind everyone, I am a Black 5'1" woman. I had my hair out in my fro that day, and
she has a very young face.
I have a young face. Black don't crack. I just, put it out there.
Well, we talked about this actually, where you said you learned about skincare as a little girl, and learning to like nourish your skin.
Yeah, she was absolutely beautiful. So again, that's part of our lineage. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then while I'm gone, and Jessica, mind you, is Latina. She's got brown and blonde, streaks and highlights in her hair. And he asked her, like, how spicy does your daughter want the soup? I'm like, what daughter?
I really, and he said the young one is what he said to me. The young one,
which he's not far off. I'm young.
You are the young one, but in our friendship, you are the young one. But I wish I'm like, how young do you think this young one
right.
is?
Like, how old do you think I am? Jessica doesn't look that old.
I'm like her mother.
And I don't look like I'm like 12 or anything. Like
maybe it was
like
the
16.
hair. Maybe you looked older with or younger with
my fro. Like, my natural hair absolutely makes me look younger, but not that young.
No, I don't know. But again, it was beautiful practice, so thank you. And then the joke became, I'm her mother moving forward. We went to go
lunch,
exactly. We went to go. That's what to be a mother.
And I'll tell you what I want.
No, but when we went to go meet my friend last night, and I introduced her to him as my daughter, he legit was shook. Like, wait, what? You have a daughter? And I was like, yes, this 27-year-old woman is my daughter. Like, this, according to it. We told him the story, and he laughed, and he was like, oh, maybe that guy was confused. Like,
that's a true testament to like how definitely I don't think people are looking at me because of color and race. Like, they're looking at me because I'm great. Yeah. Like, because I'm gorgeous. Like, how would you not look at me?
Well, and then what was creepier is the fact that he did think you were a young one. And Then after when I said she wasn't a young one, he was like, oh, well, have her come pick up her soup. Like, it was so weird and predatory.
Send her over is what I heard.
Send her over. Like, and in his deep Nigerian voice. Like,
that's one.
I shall take her as my princess. Like, send her here.
So I'll go over to pick it up. And what did he ask me? He was like, can I have your contact? And I was like, no, but
yes, Will, she does get hit on here in LA.
Yeah, whatever. He knows that though. But it's not even hit on. It's just like really weird interactions to me.
It does actually kind of feel more like a weird interaction.
They're not complimenting me or anything. They really just want to get to me.
They're like, give me your number.
Yeah, like, give me your phone number. Like, let's talk. I'm like, talk about what? We haven't said a fucking word. Like, why do you want my number?
Well, now, daughter, now that I know that creepy men hit on you, I'm going to be like, excuse me, pardon me, this is my daughter. Stop talking to her.
What I have noticed, this is what I don't like. Fuck the race thing. It's the age thing. Older men seem to like me a lot. And it's because I look young. So when I tell them that I'm 27, it's kind of like, oh, even better. But like a younger number wasn't going to deter you before. Like if I said I'm like 19, it would be like,
no, but actually,
do I wanna? But 27, oh, bet. Let me follow through.
You know what's so crazy? I actually, one of the women that we were in the workshop with this weekend, she's age gap dating too. So the guy who I'm talking to, he's significantly younger. We're going to say it's over a decade. And
that's my cap. 10 years older.
10 years younger right now is where he is. Yeah. And so 10 plus years. The woman who I was talking about, she's going to be on a future episode, so stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about, dating younger men. So, okay, let's focus. Let's get back on track here. What do you think was, I mean, all of this is valuable and amazing and I love it, but what do you think has been the biggest, well, first of all, what do you think has been the biggest influence in your willingness to date pretty much whoever you're attracted to?
The biggest
influence? Yeah. Is it media? Is it family? Is it your upbringing and the people you've been around?
Yeah, I think it's simply upbringing.
Yeah.
Noticing color, acknowledging color, but not letting it get in the way or like divide me. It doesn't separate me, it makes me special or makes me unique. That was been my interpretation and my upbringing of like looking at other people of other races and colors. So it's supportive in both like
just the
racial
openness.
And openness, but also age, also disability. I haven't dated anyone with like any severe disabilities, but just different struggles that they've gone through, like a broken bone or whatever, right? That healing journey and process. It's real in its own way. So, just upbringing. And then again, my parents never really addressed it either.
Told you one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I don't think me really actually, and I know there are people out there who are listening that have probably come up against a lot of really intense like oppositions or struggles. But as I'm thinking about it, like, I mean, my dad likes bros. Like, he just likes guys. So when I've dated men that are, of that, like, dude, bro, sports guys, like, then he's like, oh, that guy's so cool. Mm-hmm. I'm like, really? Like, really? That's what you...
I'm like, he's actually kind of lame, but go ahead.
That's what you want me to date? Like, that's what I'm going to marry and have kids with. But it was funny because now I feel like, I wouldn't... I'm obviously, as we've continued to evolve and heal, like, I see now what supports me the most. As, again, in that workshop we did, like, really tapping into like my healthy feminine and embodying that aspect of my being. Like, it's less about like what race they are, what culture they are. I'm more about like, are you doing your own work? Do you have a vision outside of yourself? Will you be a good parent? Can we laugh like effing crazy all day long? And actually, Dainia and Will, they'd laugh. I got to experience the good night FaceTime last night. He's 3 hours ahead, and we were just barely ending our night and heading home. But it was hilarious. Like, just he's cracking up while simultaneously like falling asleep. And she's like, when she hangs up with him, I don't even think he'll remember this call tomorrow.
And he doesn't.
But what was funnier is like, again, when I'm seeing like those aspects of relationship of like feeling safe and feeling safe and protected, and having a person who's like your best friend and having great conversations and just on an infinite laugh track of life. Like, to me now, that is more valuable for what I'm looking for versus having to date a specific ethnicity or be with a certain person of a certain color. Like, I'm not even attached to that anymore.
Yeah, like they're all different and special in their own way. Like, as attractive as he is and also as pale as he is, whatever, it's about his character, his personality, who he is to me, what he does for himself, like how he treats his family. All of those things, like, is what I will pay more attention to than the color of your skin.
Yeah.
Who the freak here. And then you can't even change that, right? Like, you can adjust your character. Like, it's
I try my best to change it just to be a little browner, but, you know.
You can tan.
I'm limited melanin.
You can tan. But also, like, it's just very that. Like, you can take you can go to therapy. You can take a professional development course. You can go to an emotional intelligence training. There are things you can do to show up differently in relationship. And those people who just know who they are, like, to their core from, like, a deep inner knowing it's powerful. And what it's
sexy. We love it.
So sexy.
We love it. We love it.
So meeting him and, like, you know, we're both learning the same thing.
Yeah, and you're meshing, you're vibing.
We're vibing.
As
we're
you're
interested
evolving.
is the same thing.
Yeah.
We have something to talk about that's, like, relatable. And then also we're polar opposites in our biology.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So another thing to talk about is how different we are.
Yeah.
Plus the Colombian versus Black.
Exactly.
Like, what do we do?
But it's so beautiful that, okay, being the age you are, growing up in the household you grew up in, you know, being in this time in the modern world, like, you're navigating a totally different experience because you've been willing. I mean, because of all those factors, but also I think because you've been willing to do the work on yourself, it's enabled you to have clear communication in your relationship, to actually have a very mature relationship that we don't typically see in 20-somethings that are, you know, navigating cross-cultural relationships, cross-country relationships, and according to you, you know, polar opposites in your biological types.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally the perfect complements because of everything that you've done up until this point and the time that you find yourself in.
Yeah. It's interesting. My mentor is Rodrigo, and he coaches a lot of couples in relationships using biotypes. And once people know their biotype, their favorite question to ask is, what biotype should I be with?
Is that my partner?
Yeah. Is like, what read his biotype? Because, like, I want to know if we're compatible.
Should we dump him right now?
Exactly, right? And yes, you should. But
also no, because
you can be with any biotype. It's like there's no perfect match. There's your biological complement, like how you described it. But you can be with anybody. So again, make your choice of how you want to show up, who you want to be.
Well, and that's what's
for certain things too. Like, you can tell me no, and he does. And also you can be playful and fun and show me, like, what you're so geeky about, like our SpongeBob references. That man knows SpongeBob like no other. Know what I mean?
Know what I mean? Oh, I love it. And the next question I was going to ask you was any valuable lessons or any words of wisdom, but I think you have been quite wise with us. So any last words, you know, it just, again, like, I would be curious. We're going to set up another episode in the future to bring in somebody who is a little bit more seasoned in a different sweet spot to see what their experience has been like, you know, dating multiculturally, cross-culture, different ethnicities, just to see, again, because, like, I personally, as Gen Y, proud Gen Y, not babies, I'm
the millennial,
millennial babies. I personally haven't really experienced much other than what I was saying. Like, I felt like the discrimination was coming even internally of, like, I was so afraid people were going to judge my relationship that I started judging it.
I think millennials were the ones who fought for it to be addressed, and so Gen Z can reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, no. So that's why,
like, for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. But we're gonna actually have a part 2 on this, I think, and bring in somebody who's a little bit older who can, you know, give us some wisdom and some insight, because it seems like you and I have kind of had this a little easy in terms of, I really haven't felt like I've had any haters coming my way based off of who I was dating.
And I think so, like, the final words of wisdom on that would simply to be, like, be concerned about what you're doing together, not what they look like.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do now, Moses?
What are we creating? Exactly.
What are we gonna do? So keep that in mind. Like the actions speak louder than words. All those cliches and stuff like that about the human condition and how we treat each other, apply it to your romantic relationship, because that's where it really matters the most. Yeah. I'm literally gonna wake up next to you every day for the rest of my life. Is that what you're telling me? So I need to learn a lot about you.
A lot about the other person. So well, we're here to tell you, love is not blind, love is not deaf, love is not any of those things. But
the Netflix show is a hit.
You can be open, you can have different experiences of a lot of different cultures. But what I'm taking away from what you said is just really get to know your partner, get to know yourself, and grow from there. Grow from there.
I don't think it's that complicated.
Well, thank you so much for being on our episode today. Stay tuned for our next section called The Women Demystified, where we ask men questions and, see what they're curious about with us. So stay tuned.
What's in their brains?
Right. Thanks again for chatting with us today about this, and stay tuned for the next part.
Yeah. Oh, can I plug? I'll plug them later. I'll do like shameless plugs and stuff like that.
Oh, go ahead. You got the floor.
Okay, my Instagram.
Oh, yes.
Because I am a Gen Z. I'm a horrible Gen Z when it comes to social media. But at Dainia Namani, DYNIA NAMANI, I am going to be teaching about biotypes and how it can be applied to your life in like a physical health kind of way that you understand how to move about your day energetically, right? And then Will, my partner, he does real estate investing and now also lending, and is a breakdancer by night.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So him too.
Yeah, check him out. And we'll I'll put their Instagrams in the description below. So yeah, stay tuned. Welcome back to the special section called Women Demystified, where we allow men the opportunity to ask all of those questions that they have been reluctant to ask or society has told them not to ask. So we actually have a very special guest here with us today, a man.
Oh my God.
A man. And he's gonna actually ask the questions today that Dainia and I are going to answer. So for those of you who are not familiar with this section and you would like to learn more, listen to the end of every episode, where we actually will demystify the women. And if you'd like to submit your questions, follow us on Instagram at the Nipple Chronicles, or go ahead and slide in the DMs and send us your questions.
Oh, how sexy.
Exactly. Okay, so question number 1.
Is it rude to ask for a three-way with another woman?
What do you mean rude?
Maybe I'm using the wrong word.
No, but like, okay, so is it when you first ask, are you like, dang, is this too forward? Are you asking too soon?
Well, whether it's with a partner that I've been with for a short or long time, it just feels like justified cheating, because if she's into it, then I guess it's a win-win. And if she's not into it, then where does the relationship go from there?
Like, if there's no real relationship beforehand, there's nothing wrong with asking about a three-way. 1 or 2 months, how well do you really know that girl?
So I think it would be more like the context of what I'm hearing you say is there an appropriate time? Is it? Yes, exactly. And if I think it's fair game if you're communicating and you're actually like both on board. I like that you called it justified cheating.
Justified cheating.
Because this younger, you're Gen Z or you're right on the cusp? 94. Okay, so he's a millennial. He's a cusp baby. He's a millennial. I feel like with the younger humans, the Gen Z humans, the rules have kind of shifted. Mm-hmm. Where there's like open dating and thruples and
very kumbaya. We are
what's the other one? Oh, polyamory.
Gen Z is newer.
The newest. We the new kids on the block.
What I asked was, is Gen Z newer?
Yeah, I'm the latest generation. I think.
Well, no, because the babies are the alphas.
The babies are alphas?
Yeah. So I don't know exactly when it goes to. But in any event, I think that if you have a solid foundation of communication and clarity as to why you're asking for the threesome and what it is, and both parties agree, fair game. What are your thoughts?
It's really just a question.
It's really just a question.
It's just a question. If she's taking offense to that, then you probably don't want to have a three-way with her.
Somebody once told me...
Or even a two-way, for real.
Right? Somebody once told me, like, you always want to be the guest star in a three-way.
Why?
Like, because if there is any, like, collateral damage or... No, it wasn't collateral damage. It was... when the bomb goes, direct damage. When the bomb goes off, you don't want to be at the site, the explosion site.
Okay.
So if I'm a guest star and they invite someone into their bedroom or wherever, and it's already on shaky ground, you don't want to be the one in the couple. You want to be the one that can put the clothes on and walk away.
So what, you're going to be the one who caused it?
No,
that would be my...
I don't think I caused it if they were already in breakdown.
It's on them.
It's on them.
I don't know, but I don't know. Guest star just sounds so like...
Unicorn. The unicorn, right?
You're right.
And your bomb reference, if your home isn't there in the blast radius, your home stays.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just other people's homes.
There's radiation,
well, but the whole
from
thing
the
is
bomb. Exposure. You know?
I don't think you guys are getting the like.
No, I do. I get it.
Metaphor.
But yeah,
but at the same
simply...
time, again, I believe that if you're building a solid foundation within your relationship, because I mean, I have had plenty of interactions with multiple people simultaneously, and
not me.
No. I mean, I've gone unscathed, so, and as far as I know, like, it hasn't negatively impacted. But I also feel like I have predominantly done it outside of the context of a relationship.
Mm.
So if we're all fun to play, if we're all free to play, we're all free to play, like, whatever that looks like.
I've been with a guy who called himself polyamorous. So, like, it was very clear that he wanted to have, like, multiple sex, like, more than just me and another person. And I'm like, no.
So
I don't think I want that.
There is a person that I'm hoping in the future will come on and give us a true lesson and do an episode all about that, because I know she is we'll call it a practitioner, and has in the past had 2 solid relationships with a woman and a man simultaneously. So I think that is where, like, my brain and heart leans more towards, like, the value of polyamory. I believe, like, we're all multi-dimensional, very dynamic beings, and who knows? Like,
probably to an extent.
You know, like, I love you, I love him, like, and can I love you both simultaneously? Yes.
With the element of sex, or with the element of, like, marriage.
Exactly.
So, like, combining finances and lives.
So it's kind of like, to what extent?
I guess the part I was looking at is if I'm in a committed relationship with someone I love, I'm viewing it as if she's open to it, she would rather it be just for sex and not love. Now, I guess polyamorous is having multiple relationships. I mean, I believe in if you can handle it, if you can emotionally, financially, all the above, be responsible for however many partners. If there's open communication, it's fair. But again, it just seems like an awkward thing to ask somebody.
I mean,
Granted, I've never asked anyway.
So he was just testing the water.
Hearing that, though, I agree. Like, if you can handle it, whatever, handle your business. That it's working for you. So go ahead and do that. Me, I'm not looking for that. So I can't really, whatever. But I just don't see why.
You wouldn't know until you, like, cross that bridge.
Yeah, and just, I feel like asking is really what's triggering me.
Yeah.
Like, don't ask. Like, I think just tell,
or
and it's up to them. Yeah, talk about it. Because something me and Will, like, he's been open about, like, he's open to a 3-way or open to a threesome. So then now that would be me entering into it, and then we would invite a guest star. So I'm like, there's damage all around. But again, like, I'm not at a place for us to actually explore that yet. But I know that's something that he wants, and yet it didn't turn me away. Yeah.
Side question.
No side questions. I'm just kidding. Go.
Because there's a big thing too. Let's say I ask her and she says yes, and she's assuming I mean a guy, and I wouldn't want another
Guy?
What is it?
Eiffel Tower?
No,
A
they
devil's
say like
three-way.
Swords
You
crossing?
can't have like 2 cooks in the kitchen or some shit like that. I don't know.
I've had
but-
2 cooks in the
Then,
kitchen.
like,
Oh
what's
my
the
God.
point? Why are you asking?
Well, usually when a guy is saying 3-way, it's assuming female, female, male.
Well, he needs to say what he said.
Exactly.
that's the
because
open
I'm
communication.
like, bro, you open that can. Like,
Yeah.
know that, like, I'm down either way, but if you get one, I want one too. So, just saying.
Swing.
I actually hope that the gentleman who we were talking about earlier hears this episode and doesn't run for the hills, because we have not.
No, run towards
had
the
this.
studio.
Run towards us, baby. No, but we haven't had this conversation of. I mean, he listened. I told him, hey, we had first met, and I said, you really want to get to know me? Like, listen to episode 1. I lay it all on the line, and listen to the preceding episodes because you are literally going to learn a lot about me. Sorry, our special guest has died in his corner. You're really not died, right? Okay.
Slowly.
Let's. We all are. So, question number 2.
Yeah.
When would it be too late to approach someone, whether it's in public, more so in public, a stranger, where there's no attachment? Like it's someone at the grocery store, at the gym. There's been eye contact, just no direct contact. At a certain point, I would feel like it's like, yeah, I'm past that point of no return of approaching because it just seems creepy. Does that exist? People are laughing at me. I feel demasculated.
We're not. No. You're
It's definitely
demystifying
not.
us. There is I think ultimately, and just for our listeners, bear in mind, like Jeremy and I are very close, and him and Dainia, like they have history. Like we're all friendly. We're all friendly. We know some things about each other. So what I would say, just personally, it's funny. Confidence is the biggest thing for me. What came up right now was something that my sister's boyfriend said, and I hope they're listening so they can laugh about this. But Michael said, once they grin, you're in. So that is the opportunity to make your move.
I'll put that to practice. I will. Okay, once they grin, I'm in. So it's.
Make your move.
And
Go
that
approach.
move would be.
Approach. That's what you said.
Like, it's contact. It's, hey, how's it going? It's a compliment. There's multifaceted layers of like how to approach that. But
How would you want to be approached?
I think I've gotten all of them before. Today I got so do you have a number?
Do you have a number?
And I responded with, well, obviously, yes, I do have a number. If the question is if I want to give it to you, I'm having a little trepidation there with that decision. And I'm going to go with that's probably a no.
I don't appreciate the vagueness of just asking, do you have a number?
Can I have your
That sounds
contact?
creepy. Yeah, contact, also like weird as fuck, but
Yeah, so,
it's okay. Like, it was different.
So on Saturday when we were all together, there was a beautiful man in the hallway. Like, oh, just beautiful. And he walked by and he smelled divine. And I made that sound.
You got beautiful and divine.
And said, you smell amazing. Not thinking that he actually could hear me. And he did a full 180, turned around, looked me straight in the eyes and said, and you look very beautiful today.
Jeremy's nodding intently.
Yeah, and it worked. I was so like, I tapped into my flow of like, oh, you smell nice. And then he was like, and you look nice. And in that moment, honestly, with no other interaction, had he said like, and I would like to get to know you better, my brain might have paused because, I'm seeing someone. But there would have still been like the
opening, the grin is in.
The grin would have been there. There definitely would have been an openness. So I think it's really just you. I mean, honestly, and I've said this to you before, like take a leap and shoot your shot. And you're probably going to have to shoot a lot until you find what is your kind of approach.
Yes, a flow.
And for me, to actually answer your question, I feel like too late is like if you guys are leaving. If one of you guys is like leaving the premises or the property, it's too fucking late. Like, don't go approach her.
Yeah, those are the times I've approached.
Don't go
You do it at the last minute.
Nothing has ever happened. Yeah.
I mean, if it were a grand romantic gesture, like it gets to live up to stuff I've seen in the movies. If you're gonna like chase behind her,
Stephanie, wait.
it's gotta be.
I think I'm good. I'll.
Then yeah.
If they grin, you're in.
Shoot your shot sooner would be like a little bit of tips, right? Advice.
A little 5 seconds.
A little 5. Like you look, okay, we're going to do it right here. Mm-hmm. I mean, we turned the video off, so this is just for this section.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, right? It's the 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nothing, right? Neutral face. See her face? I'm not approaching that. But on the, now you smile at her. It was like a kindergarten school picture smile. Oh, I love this. I love this. So this is to be continued. I really am excited to have had our very first man on the Nipple Chronicles. Just for our special section, Women Demystified. But thank you for playing along, Dainia, and thank you, Jeremy, for jumping on and giving us some questions today. And for those of you, like I said, who want to submit your questions, definitely slide in the DMs on Instagram at the Nipple Chronicles. And stay tuned for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Before we wrap up today's episode, a big shout out to our wonderful sponsors, the Village Workspaces. Whether you're an entrepreneur, freelance, or creative soul, the Village Workspaces are the perfect environment to foster creativity and productivity. With state-of-the-art facilities and a community that thrives on collaboration, it's more than just a workplace. It's a place where ideas grow and connections are made. Visit the Village Workspaces today to see why it's an ideal spot for anyone to push the boundaries of what's possible. And remember, when you mention the Nipple Chronicles, you'll receive a special offer on your first visit. Make your next big move at the Village Workspaces, where your potential meets opportunity.